Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host, John, better known as Dayaron. It's been a fantastic show for you. I forgot to bring up the show notes, but we're still going to power through, especially after the day we're having. You definitely got a show in live for it. Welcome back to Guild Wars 2 Week 4, balance patch news for next week, and speaking with ArenaNet devs since the layoffs, and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow hosts. He streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question. With the new balance changes, especially to Thief, will we see him on the hunt again in PvP? Say hello to Age.
I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Probably I'll try some new stuff on Warverse World. That's all I got.
Can't wait.
Welcome.
And she's an editor at Guildmag, writes for MMORPG.com and also her own site, MMORly.com. There was one thing missing from the balance patch notes. It didn't say anything about increasing the base of all in-game roars. I wonder what she thinks. Say hello to Robin.
Roar.
You know what? That just sums up how this week has been. This whole pre-show stuff. But awesome.
I felt like it was appropriate.
No, more than if you're watching this on YouTube or somewhere else, definitely got shown live because you probably don't understand what just. Anyway, you can find him over on Twitch. With the summer months rolling in, you will need to find a cool place to hang out. So make sure to head on over to twitch.tv/Bowborne, where his arrows will blot out the sun. Say hello to Bowborne.
Hey everybody, that might be the best intro I've ever gotten of all time. So thank you.
Well, I'm sorry you had to wait so long for it.
No, I'm not, because it's here. It's now. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let us jump right into it. And also, if you aren't aware, we have our special guest today, Bowborne. So, and I actually made a little thing so you can, if that works. Yay, something worked. There's all of his socials and Twitch, so make sure to definitely check him out over there.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself before we start?
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely do that. I like Deo said, I stream on Twitch. I play mostly Guild Wars 2, but I do some variety stuff. I play a lot of story games, anything with a bow and an arrow in it, or arrows, as it were. Guild Wars 2, I mainly PvP. I don't do a lot of PvE stuff. I play Renegade mostly these days. I would definitely say I've switched to be Renegade main. Used to play Ranger. So yep, that's exactly right, man. Seems like you're picking it up, Age. You know the important thing here. All right. But yeah, that's me. I'm here every day, 8 p.m. to midnight Mountain Time.
Awesome. Well, let us jump right into it. So, we've talked about in the past the whole issue with the devs being laid off at ArenaNet, the whole it leaking all this stuff, but actually, they actually had some ArenaNet devs speaking out about the layoffs. A little bit of time has passed, so there was an article, I believe it was from Eurogamer, Eurogamer.net, and they spoke with Lindsay Murdoch, who is the lead Living World designer, was there for roughly 13 years, Andrew Gray, senior game designer, there for around 15 years, and it also mentions there was an ArenaNet PR rep was present, which I would feel that is one of those things that you definitely needed someone from PR there.
Yeah.
Yep.
But did you guys have a chance to read it or check it out, or was there anything
I was just gonna say it was quite a lengthy read for a Eurogamer article.
Right.
For one. It detailed like a bunch of things that I guess people were concerned about. The writer brought up some interesting questions as well. I think the part about just how ArenaNet handled the layoffs versus other companies, I think that was an interesting bit, that it speaks to the culture that ArenaNet has. That ArenaNet is more of a family-oriented based company, whereas they actually care about, they care about their employees to a degree where, they care about their well-being. Even after these layoffs, they're like fellow devs are helping each other like find new things and things like that, shout outs, all that stuff. So that's one of the things I found really cool.
And especially in a day and age where most people working game design are kind of afraid of random layoffs or everybody get invited to a central location and then all let go at the same time. Security will bring you your stuff kind of situation. So
Right.
yeah, I definitely think that everybody, I wouldn't say praising, but not completely bashing ArenaNet for doing what they had to do is pretty cool to see.
Right. Well, I feel like although it wasn't said again, obviously, but the way things have been said, it kind of really enforces to me the thought that a lot of people had that the layoffs were kind of coming from NCSoft down, and it wasn't like ArenaNet was like, hey, we want to lay off people,
Mhm.
So that, in a weird way, that was kind of reassuring to me. Like, even though it wasn't specifically said, it reads that way kind of to me. So that's good, I guess, as much as anything in this situation can be good.
Yeah.
And they even talked a little bit about I think a lot of people put a lot of weight into the idea of the other projects that were out there.
Right.
And I think I think it was the PR person that even said we're always working on other stuff. And I think even Lindsay said on top of that, like every studio does, like that's not a rare thing. Like I think that's one of the things like a lot of people ran with was like they're working on other things, and that means no one's working on Guild Wars 2 or only like a skeleton crew or
Right.
something. It's like
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, it's very rare, especially when you're talking about MMOs in general, for there to be like not people working on new unannounced things. Like there's always people working on that kind of stuff. And like they say all the time, game development is an iterative process. So I don't want to say like more often than not those new things never come out, but like it's a process and things either happen or they don't happen, and there's various reasons. And then sometimes like something will start as one thing and they'll realize that thing is not really working as a thing, but it could be reworked into this other thing and that could work, Like it's just the way it works with game development, and that's normal.
It's like if CD Projekt Red has the Witcher series, and now they have what's it called, Cyberpunk 2077. That's their new type of thing to go to, and they probably have like 2 or 3 things in the background that they're working
Right.
on. So,
Well, they just not that long ago came out with another Witcher related thing. It was it wasn't like large scale like Witcher 3, but
yeah, it was Gwent, because they realized like in the Witcher games they have like Gwent as like a mini game that you can play, and it was pretty popular with people, so they actually made it a standalone thing.
Not even just making the Gwent standalone, there's another Witcher 3 related thing that I can't remember the name of, but it was set in that universe, and I wish I could remember what it was called. It was really recently. My brain has crashed on it.
And like Chad is saying, like even usually they don't call it, well, they probably call it that in the gaming industry, but it's more commonly known in like other industries as like an R&D, department, research and development, where it's like they're testing the waters. They're trying to see what they can do more with or expand their audience. I mean, it is a company, so. But I just find it interesting that it was like a lot of the Guild Wars 2 community was like, we must have only had like 2 people working on Guild Wars 2 or like, a skeleton crew just because there was other projects.
Yeah.
But, chat is saying Thronebreaker?
Oh, yes, Thronebreaker. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what it was. My brain was just like, I could not come up with the words. What I was going to say was I think unfortunately that some of the perception of the skeleton crew on the game probably comes from certain other devs who've made comments on Twitter after they've left the company about like how it was frustrating and they didn't have the resources to work on stuff, which I'm sure it's an accurate portrayal of their perception, but like us on the outside, it's easy to run with that and take it to a more of an extreme than was intended when it was said, you know.
Mhm.
Chad is saying there's a difference between CD Projekt Red and ArenaNet. Witcher 3 is a single-player RPG, and they don't work on it anymore. Guild Wars 2 is an MMO that still gets updates. Well, I think she was just using that as an example, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't still playing around with what they could get away with Witcher 3. I mean,
I was gonna say they did a lot of quality of life updates in the years since it. I think they did recently announce that they have stopped all active development on it. So I think they are done with it. But I also am pretty sure that CD Projekt Red is a much smaller development studio than ArenaNet. Generally speaking, because of MMOs are such large scale projects, they usually have the biggest development teams.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, you know, I love ArenaNet, but I don't think they have the biggest bank account behind their thing. Because if you look at like World of Warcraft, I mean, they probably hired on a bunch of people so they could start trickling things out to the Overwatches, the more StarCraft, more what is it, Eye of the Storm stuff, and some of it. I mean, we were seeing some of that not panning out because wasn't Eye of the Storm like development kind of halted or something?
Heroes of the Storm, you mean?
Or Heroes of the Storm. Sorry, that Eye of the Storm is the PvP map. That's
they've scaled that back and they've gotten rid of the esports aspect of it. So, but they're still doing development on it. They're just doing it less frequent than they were before.
But
that's true. I feel like Mofongo is probably right on that. Is like people only play their thing and they focus on that. And like I know, one of the things people always complain about is there's never updates for World versus World and stuff, which there have been some, but not the big things that we've been looking for. So I know it's easy to get the perception that nothing ever happens if that's the only section of the game that you care about. And that goes true for no matter what section that you care about. I know people who only care about the Living World story and they complain that we rarely get updates for that and that they're always late, which, it's a fair perception, but at the same time, they're doing lots of different things.
Well, Living World updates are late. I mean, that's a perception. I wouldn't say a fair perception.
I mean, there have been a few that have been late, but
yeah, but can we average out the couple times that they've hit because they say 2 to 3 months,
right.
And I mean, I would say if they're hitting the 2-month mark, that's early. Like that's early.
But I think didn't we go back and look before the last one, and we realized that they'd been only like late for 2 of the dates, and it was pretty close. Like it wasn't.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say I don't think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, they usually go for the 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
More often than not, I would say. Not necessarily late all the time. Maybe like 2.
Hat.
They might actually use that. I hope they do.
Living story updates or wizards confirm.
Wizard Tower. It almost. But we're kind of hitting upon it. They also talk in the article about like future development story wise, and really all they had to say was our fans have been asking for that, for us to do things a little bit differently and not be formulaic. So they took this as an opportunity to do that and to assess and make the right decisions for the game. So does that mean that they might be looking to shake that 2 to 3 month schedule thing? I mean, I don't think we're going back to 2 weeks, but
right. My impression of that is less on the timing and more of the content not being formulaic. Yeah. Because the main criticisms that I've seen with the content being formulaic is every episode you have a general story arc that it's going to happen. You're going to have a setup of a thing that you got to do. You're going to figure out how to do that thing, and then it's all going to fall to shit. That's pretty much the story arc of every episode, with the exception of a couple. There's been a couple where at the end we're like, hey, we didn't mess everything up. Yay. But so I think my impression was that that's more about the less formulaic in the content.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
oh, go ahead.
something to keep in mind with not only living story but all other aspects of the game too is that it's almost impossible for us to know with an outside perspective what ArenaNet's priorities are, right? Like I think that, well, like you said, everybody who spends most of their time in a specific part of the game feels like their I guess area is under supported. So it's almost going to be impossible to please everybody at the same time to make those quality of life upgrades or to further the story. I mean, I think that the community in some sense kind of might have really high expectations of what comes out and when it comes out sometimes.
Mhm.
Right, and then with the living story, you're totally right that it follows a certain sort of pattern. If we keep in mind that this next one though, they didn't really leave us a lot of, oh, maybe we didn't mess it up so bad this time. Like there was a lot of finality with this last episode, so
Right.
they probably have to put a little bit of extra time into figuring out how we're going to crawl out of that hole of failure, you know?
Well, I don't know, just because like from the interactions I've had with devs and talking to them is they have general story planned out like years in advance, and like while they have to figure out, you know, episode to episode the specifics and write the dialogue and all of that, they generally know how things are going to work out. So I don't think going from this last episode to this episode, it was figuring out how it's going to work. They knew what it was going to be before this last episode came out. So yeah.
They just have to figure out how to get it back to Lion's Arch so they can destroy it, right? That's usually how it works.
No,
Like,
we're going to
they're
destroy
due.
Divinity's Reach and kill Jaina. That's next.
Ow. Ouch. I mean, I hate Mesmers, but come on. What are you, an ArenaNet dev doing balance work? Hey,
Take down the head Mesmer.
but they also did talk a little bit about Guild Wars 2's future, and I think a lot of things that people are surprisingly concerned with.
Did
I
I
think
really,
it goes.
I said Jaina, didn't I?
Oh yeah, you did.
We thought it was an intentional, you know, comparison.
Arlie, what have you been
my
playing
God.
recently?
All right, sorry about that.
Hey, it's our fault. We all just kind of overlooked it, but yeah, Jenna, it's it's close.
I really, really dislike Jenna.
So much so that you think she's Jaina.
Yeah.
Rename her.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna find out. Episode 6. It's like, haha, it was me the whole time. It's Jaina. This has all been a WoW spinoff. This whole thing's been leading up to that. There you go. You heard it here first. But yeah, they're talking about the Guild Wars 2's future, and they kind of address the situation of, I think another thing that a lot of people were latching onto of just, and we've talked about in the past, of we're seeing less and less like population type thing.
Right.
Or at least with revenue, which kind of can match population usually.
Yeah.
But it's not always the best indicator, but
yeah, there's a lot of factors that play into what revenue there is, and like even outside of things that Guild Wars 2 has control about, you know, because like people don't have to pay a sub, and like there's no regular money incoming. It's just gem store essentially.
But you know, they even talk about the, like, while we do still see a decline, that even they talk about, they were actually surprised that it was a slower decline than you'd probably see in other MMOs or but I mean, you know, and I think we say this before, I think it's important to just restate, that's just kind of the nature of MMOs. So if you just look at it, especially from the stance of how we were saying before, you know, if you're a Guild Wars 2 player that only has played Guild Wars 2, maybe that's your game, that you're in your bubble, and you just see the numbers going down, you're thinking, oh no, the game's over, it's, you know, dead game, sky's falling. But that's kind of the natural progression of MMOs, just because, you know, it is an older game. What, we're 6 years in? Or going, so it's
7, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be 7 here pretty soon.
Well, like even with newer MMOs, like it's kind of the life cycle of all MMOs. Like when there's a big thing happening, there's a big influx of people, which always translates into a big influx of money and revenue goes up. And then, you know, when that big thing is done, lots of people trickle out and they go do whatever they do. And then there's the core of people who stay. And that the question about the sustainability of a MMO is if that core is big enough to sustain an MMO. And because of the shared server structure of Guild Wars 2, they honestly can probably healthfully live on a smaller core than most other MMOs with like separate servers and all of that, because they can get around the lower populations easier. But then, you know, it's also a question of how much people are spending money and whether that's enough. But again, for the structure of Guild Wars 2, it's hard to judge that in terms of relationship to population.
Mm-hmm. All we know is what it's 11 million strong is their new ad campaign thing, which we talked about last week. But I just, you know, because I see chat saying like, you know, when I said the idea of it declining stuff, you know, chat saying it's not like it's definitely fighting the, I think, trend that we see in MMOs, which I think is a good thing. It's just hopefully it translates to them. You know, I don't want to make it sound like hopefully it translates to them being able to nickel and dime all these new people. It's like not necessarily that, but hopefully people spend money so they can continue doing what they're doing.
Well, and like that's one of the things with Guild Wars 2 is one of their selling points is that it's an MMO you can jump in and out of fluidly, and you won't come back and suddenly like your friends are like 40 levels ahead of you and you got to catch up before you can do anything with them. That's not the structure of the game, you know. So they've really kind of like recognized the state of the industry and are playing towards that. And I think that's fine. It's worked for them for this long, so you know, it's a good strategy.
Well, and as a real world example, that's definitely what's kind of I guess pushed me away from trying the bows in Destiny 2 lately, is that now I have to climb another 30 or 40 levels to play with my friends. That's a great point to bring up.
Yeah, that's so like the whole reason I heard like the last expansion fixed a lot of things with Destiny 2, and the whole reason I didn't get it was because I don't want to have to play catch up. Like,
exactly.
Screw it.
And chat is saying, you know, kind of because we're the gaming the gaming community as a whole is kind of moving away from MMOs. It seems like we're not getting a lot of new ones that are high profile.
Right. Well,
like we're still getting.
Right. I was just gonna say the gaming industry, like in the bigger sphere of the gaming industry, there's always the thing that is the hotness that everybody's trying to cash in on and get their money on and do. And for a while it was MMOs because everybody was like, oh my God, look at how much money Blizzard's making. I want to do that too. And like everybody and their mother was putting out MMOs. And there's just like, honestly, an MMO is just a very specific thing. And it's a specific kind of gamer that enjoys that kind of gameplay. And it takes a lot of resources to do. It's not easy for a true MMO. So then you saw a lot of these kind of pseudo MMOs. We still get some of those. And then you saw MOBAs being like it. And I think the newest one was Battle Royale. Everybody was trying to have Battle Royale. It's it's the industry. That's the way it is. And just because like MMOs aren't the new hotness that everybody's trying to make, it doesn't mean that it's dying or that there aren't MMOs that are coming out that are going to be amazing. It just means it's not the like flavor of the month or whatever, you know. It's just not the thing everybody wants, which is totally fine. I mean, how long has it been since like the RPG, the single player RPG has been the thing that everybody's like trying to make, and those games when they are done well still do really well. Like it's not like the genre's dying. So
we were just talking about The Witcher 3, which is a perfect example.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also not just a matter of game trends. It's also a matter of lifestyles that people live as well, because MMOs are an investment of time.
Right.
People do not have as much time as we did like 20 years ago.
Right. Well,
Whereas,
that's like we've seen the style of MMO change
yeah,
over the decades in recognition of that fact.
exactly. So as you can see, the trend of MMOs changing as well. MMOs have to kind of like fit that niche, but also not directly compete, but kind of like compete for your time.
Hmm.
Because MOBAs and battle royales are to the type of game you spend like I don't know, like an hour or 2 hours at, and that's like a good amount of time to get like a good gaming fix and then
Hmm.
move on. Whereas
Right.
MMOs have aspects like Guild Wars 2, you have World Wars 4, you can jump in wherever you want. PvP, you can jump in for 15 minutes, have a match or two, and then jump out.
Hmm.
But there are some elements like in terms of the PvE, there's some things that you have to spend time to do, and
Hmm.
not necessarily have the time to do.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing I see a lot. Random people will comment about they miss games like RuneScape, where they had to be in for like at least 8 hours to feel like they just accomplished a teeny small thing. Like if they didn't play for a long period of time at a time,
Mhm.
they didn't feel like they accomplished anything, and that they want MMOs to go back to that, which to me sounds horrific. Like it's one of the reasons why I'm not excited about WoW Classic, because although I loved playing it back then, like I don't have the time to put in that it took. And like WoW Classic was like a light version of what it was like in RuneScape. Like, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
it's just I think the people who want that kind of game also have to recognize that they're a sub community of a sub community. And the thing is MMOs in general, especially MMOs that try to be like the thing you go for everything, no matter what type of game style you play, that takes a lot of money to develop all of those things. So they need to cast as wide of a net as possible. And that means, having things that people can do to jump in for short periods of time. Because if you can only play like 2 or 3 hours a night and you don't feel like you've accomplished anything in that time, you're going to stop playing. It's just a human nature thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think what's going to be more interesting, and like Chad was kind of bringing up, was bring up ESO and Final Fantasy XIV, which are just two games they brought up because the next an expansion is coming for them soonish. But I think that's what we're going to see with probably. I mean, those are the four I can think of that are kind of the big MMO, AAA MMOs you could still call, are WoW,
Right.
ESO, Final Fantasy XIV, and I would say Guild Wars 2. I
Yep.
think now we're going to see, like we said, we're not going to see any new things hit the market because that's not where the money is at for the game industry. But I could see more things getting built up on these four, which might be good for fans. I mean, like we were kind of bringing back to all this stuff, is we're seeing more people like returning, and even maybe new people picking it up, which is awesome.
I
And
mean,
great
there's
for them
still
because they have what a 6-year backlog of content.
right.
Yeah.
um there are still new MMOs in development, and there are some interesting things out there. And the question is, like, for anybody developing an MMO, they have to kind of look at the landscape and figure out like how they fit in with the other ones that have done well. Like WildStar tried to set itself apart by being the hardcore one, which,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to figure out what sets you apart, but you also, again, need to cast a wide enough net. So, like, all I meant was like not that there aren't new MMOs coming out, because there
Oh
are
yeah.
some interesting ones coming. It's just it's not the onslaught that we saw for a while.
And they had to go back to being niche, kind of like before WoW kind of brought it into the mainstream. You had EQ, that it was like you had PvP, but it was basically them kind of being like, okay, you guys can kill each other now. Oh, can you
Yeah.
balance for it? No. What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
that's not our game.
If everybody's broken, then it's balanced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do it. It's not something we care about, but you can do it, basically.
And yeah, that's kind of like what chat's hitting upon, is like, yeah, I think we're going to go back to that kind of niche MMOs. Like, we're not going to see like, and that's why I was kind of saying the 4 that I named that are the AAA ones, they're trying to be the like catch-all, like we're doing everything PvP,
Right.
all this stuff, and it, as we talk about here, it is straining for the development teams.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, any other thoughts on the devs talking about the ArenaNet layoffs? I mean,
I'm really happy they did it, honestly. Like, I don't think anything like groundbreaking or earth-shattering was revealed, but it's good to give us kind of a more inside view on things and to know, like, it's better than like it just being radio silence and not hearing anything about it.
yeah, I think this is the nice thing, is this is still building on that whole, we're getting more communication, which once
Mhm.
again, I feel like I have to say it every week. It's like, come on internet, don't scare them back into the whole, don't be like, well, you
Yeah.
said this in this one sentence, a
Right.
year ago, and we're holding you to it. Like,
Yeah.
let them communicate with us. I think
Yeah.
makes a better experience for everyone.
Mhm. That's always the problem, is like, no matter what you say, there's somebody who will glom onto that one tiny teeny thing, and when you have to cut it, it's earth shattering.
Yep. Well, that's one of the biggest things, is that street goes both ways. Just as ArenaNet, don't it. Yeah, it just basically goes both ways. That whole,
Right.
like you were saying, it's so most of my background in the game industry is in community management.
Mhm.
So all of that I mean, as all of you guys know, it has to do with how do we take this sometimes unpopular information and translate that to everybody so that they don't hate us.
Right. Yep. And like, it's important also for ArenaNet to communicate ahead of time if, like, something's late or they have to cut something, and being as transparent as possible about why. And then it's on us not to be like if it's something legitimately bad, then okay, you can call them on it, but like, don't. There's a difference between giving good constructive criticism and just being a douche nozzle, like.
Yeah, it's like, what was it, over the Winter's Day thing, and they had the bad snowstorms that closed the offices. That's something they can't really control. But if they were like,
Right.
yeah, Mike O'Brien kind of spent all the money on blackjack, like, and this is just a
Right.
bad example. I'm not saying any, because I know this
We
is the
had
internet.
a food fight in the office, and some of it got on the servers.
Yeah, exactly. We had a slip and slide, and it just went into the server room. It's like,
You're all starting from level 1. Congratulations. Welcome back to Guild Wars 2.
yeah. So then that would probably be like, hey, what are you guys doing? But
Right.
it's like,
Yeah,
but-
it's the level of response sometimes to what has happened is out of proportion to what has happened. Like, and I understand, like, people from snowy places being like, it was barely any snow, but you got to understand, like, they're in the north, but they're on the coast. They don't get snow like that. Like, it's just, that's not their weather pattern,
I mean, on
Yeah.
top of that, if somebody who's clearly intelligent enough to make those decisions that a company says it's not safe for my employees to come to work today, I mean, at what point do people stop trusting that person's opinion, right? Like,
Right.
yeah.
Like, I'd rather the companies err on the side of safety of their employees than being like, no, we got to get this out,
I would have gone to work. It's like only 5 centimeters of snow.
Yes, but you're from Canada. Your opinion is invalid.
Do you think NCSoft's now listening to this going, that's what we need to do? Hire all Canadians to work at. They're fine with the snow apparently.
Yeah.
But and that's the funny thing. It's like, when I was saying he's spending all the money on like blackjack or something, I wish that was an out there thing, but I think that happened with like an indie studio that was kickstarted, like a game.
Mhm.
They just took them. Like, I just wish that was.
There was an indie game studio where they needed a certain amount of money to keep going, and the CEO took what little money he had and went to a casino to earn the money, and it worked the first time. The time after that, it did not work, though.
Ouch.
See, and but that's why it's like I kind of felt bad by saying like like an actual person's name that worked there. Like I said, this isn't me saying that this isn't like some kind of weird scoop or anything. So I hope that doesn't like somehow figure out on the internet or something. Because
This
Yeah.
just in.
exactly, because you gotta love the internet. They'll only clip that part, but not the actual part where I'm saying this is a joke.
Right. Yeah.
Scandal. More at ArenaNet.
Yeah, exactly. So just in case, apologies ahead of time, Mike O'Brien.
Wait, what are you
Uh,
apologizing for?
In
Because
case
it's the
somebody
internet.
is like, "Oh my god."
I don't have
Yeah.
to apologize for that.
I feel like it is on the internet nowadays.
Mhm.
But anyway, I just want everybody to be, happy and, not too happy that they just, too sad about things. Nice balance. Speaking of balance, I think they actually showed it off, or they
We're
actually
Jedi
mentioned
now. Balance. Sorry.
it. You were the chosen one. Oh, I wish my
You were
Wish all my
supposed to
love-
bring balance.
I wish all my
Okay.
levels would have been balanced going into this. So we could have just
Side-
started.
I have a side thing. It'll be real quick. I totally think
Okay.
that he did bring balance to the Force, right?
Yes,
Yeah. I mean,
he did. You're right.
in a really
It's true.
terrible way, but in a
No,
Thanos kind of way.
It's true.
And then they went and nerfed him. But yeah, this past week, I think it was on Friday, they actually dropped in the forums that they are planning on doing a balance update, balance changes. Yeah, coming actually this Tuesday, and like we normally do.
No, you
we're not
can't
gonna
have
go-
shit. Stop it. Sorry.
That is one of the balance things. No chips for anyone in the game. But as we normally do, I'll put the link in chat. When we're going to kind of go in that order. We're not going to go sentence by sentence, but if you do see stuff that you want to talk about when we're going through it, definitely let us know in chat, and we'll definitely talk about it more. But yeah, let us start first off, I think, with general stuff that is changing. So some general things. Dark Leap combo. Performing a leap finisher from a dark field will now grant players 5 seconds of Dark Aura. Dark Aura, this new effect, reduces incoming condition damage by 20% and inflicts 2 seconds of torment when you are struck with a 1 second cooldown per attacker. So, new aura. That's pretty cool.
Hi.
That's going to be a big thing for, or at least I'm going to try to make it a big thing for some condition renegade builds, right?
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of torment.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty. That's a big. That's a small change, but a big thing because yeah, it's a new
Yeah.
aura. It's a new effect coming in. So
Yeah, I'm gonna look forward to seeing how players make use of that and like come up with interesting ideas.
Absolutely.
Fire Shield. This effect has been renamed Fire Aura. Okay. Chaos Armor being renamed Chaos Aura. So it looks like they're just doing those quick little things. But skills that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it fixed a bug that prevented it from triggering on some elementalist traits, which was awesome because it's really frustrating to use something and then be like, "What happened?"
But also some skills that destroy missiles will now block missiles instead. This change affects the following skills. For the Elementalists, it'll be the Swirling Winds, Engineer, Launch Wall, Guardian. Oh, why did they get all of them changing? Deflecting Shot, Refraction, Sanctuary, Shield of the Avenger, and Zealot's Defense. Mesmer, Illusionary Warden, Necromancer, Corrosive Poison Cloud, Revenant, Inspiring Reinforcement, which is underwater. Thief, Sniper's Cover, Smokescreen, and Concealed Defeat. And for the Warrior, Winds of Disenchantment.
Yeah,
So-
I like the fact that the Guardians is so long because there was a long period there where we always joke that the missile blocking didn't block anything.
Well, and honestly, I think this is a huge nerf in general. And if you're a ranger player, especially a bear bow or anybody who uses the longbow, you are just screaming in happiness right now because this just means that the biggest things that people use to stay alive when you're trying to kill them have all just disappeared.
Well, but is there that much difference between destroying missiles and blocking them?
Yeah,
Yes.
when they were destroyed, I mean, they were destroyed, but Rangers solely specifically is just flush with unblockable. So much unblockable.
Oh, okay.
Yep. A
That's
lot.
nice. I haven't played
For
my
Rangers.
I was gonna say my main was a ranger for a long time, but I switched to the elementalist a while back, so I'm not up on what's cool with them anymore.
Yep. Prepare to see a lot more hate for the longbow too.
Deo's favorite skill. Oh no, wait, it's Malthanis's favorite skill, isn't it? He's the one that complains about it.
Oh yeah, constantly picking people off. It's
Mm.
but
Yeah,
you know,
like he sets up areas and people knock it out of it and stuff.
Yeah.
but you said you weren't really up on your elementalist. Funny you mentioned that. That is the first one up in the list for
I'm not up on
Some-
the ranger. I switched
or-
to the elementalist.
whatever. I was working on transition. I wasn't listening. I don't know. It's been a day. That doesn't change the fact that elementalist is up first.
Yes,
So
because we're the best. Roar.
oh, now you do a roar.
Woo, woo.
Okay. But yeah, so what things have we seen change for the elementalist that is good? Is there any bad? I mean, overall
I
this
don't
has
think
been
there's
kind
any
of a
bad in this, really. I'm happy that they're reworking the dagger. I use dagger a lot as my Tempest build with dagger warhorn, and it was a fun thing. But with the addition of the sword, it kind of made dagger main hand like, why would you ever choose that?
Right.
So this rework makes it sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to. I'll give it a try and like see how it works exactly. But having the base healing on the water skills increased is pretty awesome, because I kind of honestly, when I did use them, I was never like, I didn't use it really because it was kind of pointless, but 20% increase might make it worthwhile to actually switch to that. And there was one other, them changing the magnetic leap. I like that because
Yes.
the earthen rush, like it sounds cool. Like it just sounds cool to quickly dash along the ground, summoning damaging spikes along the way, and then delivering an area attack, immobilizing an enemy, which it makes it really good for helping to get the blue bars down, which is nice. But also it sounds cool, and like I can just imagine using that on like a big pack of stuff and just like bulldozing through it. Like, I want to do that. So
Well, and
those are
from
the
the
main
PvP
things.
side of things, those sorts of I guess movement abilities are incredibly valuable, not only in staying stuck to your target, but in getting
Mhm.
away.
Right. Yeah.
And magnetic leap was a little bit difficult when it came to a disengage. Like, I mean, how useful was it, right? But
Right.
now that it's earthen rush, I mean, yeah, your kiting skills have just
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll be interested to see how it all works out. It sounds great to me though.
mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of nice little changes. And like I said, across the board, it just seems like mostly they wanted to definitely have some trade-offs, like we've said in the past, of like when you're switching to elite specialization, you should be gaining something, but also not like losing something, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Like, which I think has been kind of a problem, and they're definitely trying to address it here. So
Right. Which is funny, like it does amuse me that in the beginning the main hand dagger has been struggling with its identity, which is funny because one of the things me and Malthanis debate about is I always view dagger as being a close quarters fighting weapon for the Weaver, and he's like it's a short range one. It's not melee, it's short range, which technically is right. It's just not how I used it.
yeah,
So I thought it was funny that they said that because that's a debate him and I have been having for years on the show.
yeah, and like Chad is kind of saying, they don't see a reason still to use the dagger. They didn't really buff damage. They just kind of nerfed the range on the air attack, which like I said, I'm kind of happy that it's gonna be close, supposedly a more close range one, but 'cause
Right.
I think
Yeah,
I was
like-
the same type of person as you, where I was standing on top of him when it was completely pointless to. But
Right,
yeah.
right. Like I said, I'm excited to switch back to Tempest and give it a try and see how it feels. So
Any final thoughts on the Elementalist?
buff,
All right.
buff all the things.
All right. Next up, we have the engineer. Oop, not the engineer.
Engineered.
But we should start a petition to get that officially changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Engineers
That's
are
what-
now all Scandinavian.
It's the next elite specialization. I'm sorry, I dropped. I'm sorry, ArenaNet. I spilled the beans. It's the engineered.
Prepare to be sued.
Oh, but so they talk about the previous gyro update, but yeah, some changes with the blunderbuss, some like poison dart volley, holographic shockwave got a little bit of a change, but I don't know. I guess to continue with the gyro update, it's like gyros can now be used underwater. So
What?
yeah, I guess now we get little submarine gyros.
I was gonna say, do they have like little paddles on them or something?
I don't think so, but that would be. I mean, that wouldn't be far fetched because what is it? Now that they made the Necro minion elite, it's
Mhm.
now a kind of shark underwater.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. That'd be kind of cool for the underwater things were like little submarines or something.
That would be amazing.
But
You know what? If they made them submarines or something, I would actually pull out my engineer and run to the water just to use it.
there you go, Arena. If you want someone to literally just play their engineer for upwards of 5 minutes or until they can find water.
There's a lot of underwater areas in the game, too.
But yeah, I was gonna say I'm trying to see if they really got any like nerfs. Like
No, they're in
all
a
I'm
good
seeing are
place.
yeah, I was gonna say all I'm seeing are increases or
Yeah.
They
Oh.
didn't do Scrapper, which was a little disappointing, but honestly, let engineers have their time. I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah.
But any
As a
other
thief,
thoughts?
I mean, I'm sure
Oh,
you're
go
not
ahead.
happy about the no Scrapper changes their AH.
Fine.
He's like, I'm fine. It's okay.
I can't kill them, but it's fine.
Sometimes you don't
terrible.
have to kill them. You just have to occupy them for enough time.
When you 1v1 a scrapper in World versus World for 20 minutes, something's wrong.
You're keeping them from doing something important. Just think of it that way.
Or is the
One-
scrapper keeping them there going, guys, they don't have a scout anymore. I'm dealing with them for the last 20 minutes.
This is fine.
It sounds like there's a shredder gyro inside of you right now because it's tearing you up inside, it feels like.
Aw.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, yay for engineers. You can have your day. But next up we have the Guardian. Let me switch the thing out.
Buffed hammer again. That was interesting. I
Yeah.
think I just always keep buffing hammer.
What was the problem with the attack animations with that? Like, I can't remember the last time I used my Guardian. So,
It's either slow or janky or both.
mm.
I mean, in PvP, it was really easily interruptible. I mean, honestly, you can put a little bit more pressure into a Guardian and they have to interrupt their chain to live, basically.
But yeah, nice little buffs. Chance adjust attack animations to generate a smooth attack sequence. So we'll see how that works out. Lower the full casting time per 0.3, increase damage. So yeah, it's just like increasing all the things. And
This is gonna- sorry.
oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
The bow talk is going to get old, but I think that the targeted spirit weapons thing is going to be pretty cool for Dragon Hunter players. I mean, especially with the sword. I don't remember what it's called. All I know is it's terrifying. And if you're trying to play an at range kind of play style with Dragon Hunter, at least in PvP, getting to choose where you're putting that thing, like even near a friendly, so that somebody doesn't go over there to stomp them, is pretty valuable. Same with the hammer. I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say that really does fit into their wheelhouse, like you're saying for Dragon Hunter. That's supposed to be more controlling of the environment, so that would be.
that's, I mean, of course, the only thing I have to think about Guardian is Dragon Hunter related. But
We wouldn't have it any other way. But that's the beauty about all these things. You can use it on the Dragon Hunter, so might not be ideal for some of them. Like I don't know if is there a Dragon Hunter with a hammer build?
not yet.
Hambo.
Not yet. That is. Did you just say Hambo?
Hambo.
That's what I thought you said.
Let's go. That's
Well, I mean, I'm already thinking about ways we can make that work, man.
Well,
I
then
know.
you'll definitely have to watch on Bowborne's Twitch, and he'll probably have a Dragon Hunter hammer build going on. We're all counting on you.
Long time.
But any other thoughts on the Guardian?
Yeah. Buffs to hammer and we'll see how it works out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't use hammers too much, so we'll see.
Let us move on to the Mesmer. So, does look like they got a little bit of a nerf in PB and World, at least with like confusing images and like got a decrease in damage. But a lot of it still seems like increases and buffs.
I think that Rangers again got a buff with these Mesmer nerfs, especially here. That's 8.5 seconds on that cooldown to reflect projectiles after you dodge is massive.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, that makes that my biggest complaint against fighting Mesmers, at least on my Soul Beast, was there's not enough window of opportunity to kill. Right? For me, I didn't care about how tanky they were. I didn't care about how much damage they could put out despite still being tanky. For me, it was exactly how tiny the window was for you to get your hands around them, right? Like
Right.
now it's absolutely massive.
Trying to double check this trait name. So evasive mirror. So reflect projectiles after a successful evasion. That got bumped up from 1.5 to 10, which is actually really big.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
speaks
that's
to our windows of opportunity to actually hit.
Yep.
Because that
Well,
is
and like we talked about with the longbow, I mean, the longbow too, the window's even bigger now. I mean, and that was Mesmers were one of the biggest classes that made me feel pretty useless on Soul Beast, even though it's general opinion that Soul Beast counters Mesmer, but not when you have a longbow. And now it's relevant. You can just kill them like everybody else.
I mean, hopefully it won't make it too easy to kill them. Like there's still some balance there, but
I disagree. I have a lot of pent up hatred.
you sound like me talking about Dead Eyes.
For some Mesmer players is all I have to say.
Mhm.
They're not going to be very happy.
Mm-hmm.
I
There is
think
no
that-
love for Mesmers on the panel or in chat. It seems like. Oh,
I
Poor
was gonna say
Mesmers.
the only people who like Mesmers are the people who main Mesmers.
I was about to be like, yeah, no, pretty much.
It's also another thing that they changed is that they have changed shatter skill traits to be more specific rather than just like across the line.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It helps with design, but it also helps with balancing as well, because changing one thing could buff, like inadvertently buff something. So it's actually really nice that you can pinpoint, okay, if I change this trait, the shatter will change in this way.
Right.
It's a lot easier to control. So that's really nice.
And chat's kind of saying the focus is still kind of a problem, so it doesn't really even help the
Yeah.
situation.
I mean, it should help some, but the question is whether it's enough or not, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's at least recently. I think that we need to give ArenaNet a little bit more credit for Mesmer. They do catch a lot of flack for how, at least in the community's perception, imbalanced it is. But also, I haven't seen a lot of other classes like the Mesmer and other MMOs. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of precedent there for them. There's not a baseline for the most part, right? Like there are similar classes, but for the most part, this kind of illusion based subterfuge gameplay, at least from the spellcaster side of things, is I mean, it's tough to play with, I think.
Yeah.
It's more of related. I think ArenaNet just has a problem with dodge related builds. It's just balancing them is too hard. I think they should just stop making them. It's just so hard to balance.
Right.
Speaking as like one of the people that has builds like that,
Right.
it's either like it's not good or it's super OP and everyone hates you.
Right.
So
Well, that's like what they struggled with necromancers for a while. Even before elite specs was making them decent, like because forever necromancers were like, why would you want to be a necromancer? Like, especially before the dot rework, you know.
Oh man.
So I think like they've figured that part out, but now their big thing is the dodge specs, is figuring out how those work well and where the sweet spot on those are.
it's really hard to find that sweet spot. I think that's the problem.
Maybe they need to kind of rework how dodge works a little bit to make it work better. I don't know.
It's so hard because you have to have a point where it feels like it's beneficial,
Right.
but then you can't hit it so hard that it just doesn't feel good at all.
Mm-hmm.
So finding that sweet spot takes time, and as we know, people don't like waiting forever. So
Right.
I don't know.
Any other thoughts on Mesmer?
I think Wistful Dragon got it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, let us move on to the Necromancer.
Necro!
They buffed Reaper Greatsword a lot again.
It needs it. Buff it even more.
I think
200% buffs.
I think I should just. I haven't played Necro in a long time. I haven't played Reaper in a long time. I think I should. I just want to because I used to have this cool tank like power build that people just can't shove me off points, whether it's like 3v1. Like I was just unmovable.
Right.
And now I feel like I would just be like hated constantly just playing a new build with all these buffs that they've been getting on Reaper.
Yeah, they're definitely making it more distinct with that main goal of like between the Necromancer elite specs. Like I think that was what they were trying to do the most. Like you were saying with
the problem, like for a while, was once dang it, Scourge. Yeah, when Scourge came out, like Scourge. Either way. Once that came out, it was like, why play Reaper? Because it was so strong with the
shades.
Yeah, and all of that. And then like they've been trying to make Reaper more useful, and it's gone back and forth a little bit. But like some of these changes are interesting. The rework on Reaper's Touch to Soul Grasp is interesting to me. Like it's a skill with 2 casts, and that it sends forward a disembodied hand and flex durability on foes, and it grants you life force and steals health from the foe. That's a very appropriate like skill for them to have. But the idea of it having 2 casts on it is also interesting to me. I'm curious about like how it will play gameplay wise and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I think since Greatsword is kind of a slow weapon on Reaper, it would be playing more into like they're giving it more range as well, so that they can actually reach and hit. Because
Right.
the concept of Reaper was that it'd be like this slow ball of death looming towards you. So that's why they have
Right.
chill. That's why you have the range now. And
Yeah, it's supposed to be like impending doom, like slowly closing in on you kind of thing.
death,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it'll change anything, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think most of these changes are good, for the most part. The Soul Eater change is also interesting. It increases the strike damage dealt to all foes within a range of 300 by 10%, and it causes the Reaper to heal for 5% of the damage dealt to foes within range, which can be particularly strong, especially if you catch multiple people within it. But it also no longer reduces Greatsword skill recharge by 20%, which is good. We'll see. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out. But the Locust Swarm change is also interesting. They reduced the radius of it. Looks like they're standardizing everything to be multiples of 60, which is probably a good idea because in terms of, balancing in general, having things the same multiple base is a good idea. But it will last less time but deal damage faster. So in the end of the day, it'll do more damage but just last less time. Or not do more damage, it'll do the same damage but last less time.
yeah, it's a bit more burst, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the part that I'm focused on. Locust Swarm will now siphon health from enemies within its area of effect.
Mm-hmm.
With Soul Eater, we were just talking about. I mean, that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really want to get into PvP and like start messing around with that and see how that plays out. Because like for me, my Elementalist is mostly a PvE class that I play. I play the Reaper for PvP. That's just what I like. I tried Scourge, whatever, and I didn't like it at all. So I was like, I'm going back to my Reaper. It may not be optimal, but I like that game.
It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you're liking all these buffs, so you can, because you use it for PvP mostly. Ugh.
Yeah.
You're evil.
I'm not evil. I'm adorable. Have you seen my necromancer? She's adorable.
Apparently not. You say you take it in PvP. I unfortunately don't PvP.
You can be both evil and adorable.
You're not supposed to tell people that.
No, don't worry. If you try to take over PvP, I'll never know. You're in the one place I don't go. I'd like to go more, but
oh, really? We can arrange that.
We'll take you, Dale.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah. You're predominantly a PvP player, so great. No, jeez. I just keep bringing on more PvP people. I need hardcore.
Because you really want to get into the PvP, you just won't admit it.
Yeah, you caught me. No, this is the thing. I don't have to. I live vicariously through all of you. But any other? I can show.
Yeah.
I am worried. I am worried about. You can show me how to enjoy PvP. I don't know. Many have tried, but any other thoughts on the Necromancer?
Still terrifying.
Well, next up we have, and I'm sure someone will probably have some thoughts on it, the Ranger. Because it not only has one, but two bows.
All the bows.
I was worried. I thought you were just like checking out of the shock of the Ranger. You're just like, I'm out.
I thought he was going to grab a bow, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's here. It's within reach.
Okay.
The Ranger changes, at least as far as I play Ranger, don't impact it too much. I never really played a lot of Druid. There are Druid players out there who are just incredible, specifically in PvP, but the skills that have been touched today, for the most part, won't impact those builds. I mean, these seem like mostly, at least in my opinion, PvE changes.
Yeah.
And from the things that I've heard from the Druid players that I know in PvE, they're not happy about them.
Oh.
So I haven't really gotten a chance to ask them why they're not happy about them. But like I said, in terms of most of the Ranger builds that I've seen in PvP, largely irrelevant changes.
I'd assume that they are raiders, or that have they have like power builds, but depend on the healing bit. So it's for me, it's like druids have power, good power, good healing, good like pets that help them attack as well, and they have access to utility and boons and things like that. So it's like a very strong, well balanced thing in PvE you can run.
Well, I wouldn't even say it was balanced in PvE. From what I hear, I mean, when Wisty just touched on it in chat there, I think that there weren't a lot of other options if you wanted to be kind of at the top of those roles, because it was so strong. Right?
Yeah, because druids kind of take up like, since they are the might generators, you don't need to run another druid,
Right.
or another might stacker if you do it right, I guess. But now they're trying to make everything like a little bit viable. So like, hey, you want to bring a druid, but you also want to bring like, I don't know, a heal LA for X, Y, Z. So,
well, and with those dagger changes, maybe we'll see more of those conversations too for the alley. To be clear.
Yeah.
And I think that's always a problem. Like if you're always chasing the like absolute top meta, because I always remember also with like when raids were first starting, it's like, oh, there's always that mentality like when people start thinking about raids, like, oh, there could be that really powerful character that allows you to take some like any other profession. But granted, that's not going to make you the top DPS or. But you could look at it as they're super powerful. Now you have the option of taking any character, so you have that inclusiveness. Like your friend that wants to play this spec, and it's like okay, which in the mentality is like kind of carrying them. But I mean, if they're doing the skills or something, of course, yeah, they're not going to be doing the optimal damage. But I think I'm worried if Guild Wars 2 was always trying to do that kind of a thing, but in raiding that. In like group content, especially in MMOs, it's always like if you're not running meta, especially the mentality, it's like you're not running meta, you're not doing anything right type of thing. It's like
Yeah. I didn't know. So like the base attributes of pet when you have a druid on are reduced by 20%. So that's gotta sting a bit.
For PvP at least, the pets were mostly used to trigger other traits.
Yeah.
Now you're 100% right in that damage is going to be noticeable, but again, I don't think that it's going to be like a game-breaking thing for any of those builds. You're like I said, you're 100% right, especially with pets like the smoke scale or the bristleback.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You're gonna see a lot more. The point is I think you're going to see a lot more rangers branching out to try different pets, specifically when they're playing druid, because some of the damage that you get from pets like the smoke scale or the bristleback aren't going to be as monumental, right?
Yeah.
I think that the whole story of druid here is there are areas where we want to push people to try other things, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is definitely good that they're mixing things up. I mean, hopefully it does get people to try other things in the druid line, and hopefully that stems to all the other professions.
I might have missed a spot here. Glyph of the Stars. I did not read that fully the first time. This new elite skill heals, prevents allies from being inflicted with conditions, which I want to highlight, and removes conditions already on allies at range. Does more fun stuff in celestial avatar form, but I didn't really stop to think about the ramifications of that. I think that might be counterproductive in terms of driving people to other classes, because that, and I haven't clicked on it to see exactly what those numbers are, but depending on what it is, that's really strong.
That's gonna have a high cooldown, honestly.
Yeah,
that has to have a
yeah.
high
I was gonna say, unfortunately,
Yeah.
they don't list really any numbers for any of this stuff yet, but I mean, we'll probably find out Tuesday. But yeah, that
even a medium range cooldown, that's going to be pretty crazy.
That needs
Yeah.
like, I would say 90 seconds, honestly.
At least, yeah.
It should be like a save and grace type of deal.
Yeah.
Like in raids where like if you have Slothazor, which is like heavily condition based. If your group is like at a oh crap moment, person pops that and everyone's safe for a little bit. That's kind of the thing that you would want. But like I could see in PvP and in World vs. World, it could be very temperamental
Mm-hmm.
unless it has like a high cooldown. But it could allow you to fight scourges.
I was thinking the Kandi Mirage is what I see people have the most
And
problem.
Conors too, yeah.
Scourge, people just kind of focus those guys down.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you're ranger. You can already just use range. Yeah, that's true. Huh.
Yeah. I'm also kind of curious because as you're talking about this, it makes me always think of how always people say it's like, you know, oh, let's not nerf things, let's buff things up to an equal level. But now it seems like this kind of feels a little bit like that, where it's like now everybody's just weirdly too powerful.
Everyone's OP.
That's balance.
Yeah, it's raising the bar for everyone, but in a balanced way.
Yeah, but after a certain point, you get to be dealing with such big numbers that it begins to be not fun again.
Yeah, and that's what I'm curious about of how this is going to go once it goes live. Because I kind of glossed over the Glyph of the Stars, but that is a pretty big deal.
I just assume it would have a high cooldown. That's all.
I hope so. Unfortunately, we don't have the numbers officially, but I would imagine
Half a second cooldown.
it's just a passive.
There's a difference between broken and not broken. That sounds very broken to me.
It's just as long as you have a slot on your bar, it just gives that constantly, right? That's perfectly fine.
You can never have a condition applied to you ever again. You're fine.
Exactly. What's wrong with that?
It's totally cool.
But any other thoughts on the Ranger? All right. Next up, we got the Revenant.
Oh my god, the Revenant changes.
Yes, this is, in my opinion, the gold star, the
It's really nice.
the most impressive part of these balance changes is the Revenant changes, in my opinion.
Right.
I couldn't be happier with every line item on here.
So I have a question about the first thing they said, which was that they've added a new F2 skill that is only available when players aren't running an elite specialization that grants a boost to energy and legend specific effect. So that means like when you're not running an elite specialization at all, right?
Right, when you're
Yeah.
playing neither Renegade nor Herald.
Okay, because the wording on it to me made it sound like there was an elite specialization that didn't grant that, and I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah, because we have like all the baselines, and then we have Herald, and we have Renegade. So
Right.
Which I think definitely adds to this, just because I think we've always said that, especially when it launched with Herald. It's like, I mean, we've talked about it constantly, and I think everybody talked about it with Hot, was like, I don't think there was ever a core build that didn't use the elite spec because it was
right.
It
There was
felt
no
like it was
reason
designed
to
with that
not
in mind.
Use it. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, pointing out the wording on that, I feel like that also opens the door for a new elite spec in the future that doesn't have that as a thing. The F2 ability. So you would still be affected by this. That's just the way. Like, I don't understand why you would use that wording if that's not at least something you're considering doing.
I think it's more because the core Renegade, core Revenant, at least back when I was playing it, it was very hard to make a good build that had like.
No, I'm not saying that's why they're making the change that you get the F2. I'm saying they specifically said when players aren't running an elite specialization that grants a boost to energy and a legend specific effect.
Well,
Like,
so
there's no elite spec that doesn't grant those things.
Yeah, I think that they just use that to emphasize the fact that core Revenant, quote unquote, was missing that specifically, right? That
Mhm.
Mhm.
was their.
Yeah.
I mean, and I
Yeah.
tend to agree. In their opinion, the biggest disadvantage to playing core Rev was that you quite simply just didn't have the as much to bring to the table as the other two specializations.
Right. I'm just saying if they're not considering that as a possibility for a future elite spec, then they could have just said when you're not running an elite spec.
I see. Yeah.
Though it is kind of interesting because, like we said, you get a new F2 skill as long as you're not running an elite spec, but it basically is Ancient Echo, which, like we said, it gives you 25 energy and a benefit depending on what stance you're in. So if you're apparently in Legendary Assassin stance, you gain 2 stacks of unblockable, an unblockable effect for 5 seconds. Legendary Centaur stance, gain 3 seconds of Alacrity. Legendary Dwarf stance, gain 3 seconds of the Rite of the Great Dwarf effect. And Legendary Demon stance, gain 3 seconds of the Resistance effect. So that's pretty nice.
I was gonna say, as someone who loves to run Shiro, that is just amazing. I mean, that right there makes me go consider, hey, maybe I can do that. You know, maybe that's worthwhile trying.
Exactly. And on top of the fact that they just made it to where projectiles are no longer destroyed, they're just blocked.
Mm-hmm.
It said resistance effect, not boon. That's interesting.
Yeah, they are using the word effect through all of them, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I wonder
So
if that
that's-
means that it's going to be like a separate buff or something.
I think it means that. So boons, there are things that strip boons. I think it
I
means
was-
it's not going to be strippable.
That's what I'm thinking too, which would be kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Which
It's
will
super
definitely
cool.
be interesting for some of the later community stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
One of my biggest happy moments for these changes was seeing all of the changes to these healing orbs. Not only
Mhm.
Yes.
are they going to be a lot more noticeable, but they're going to be a lot more impactful to fights as a whole. And even as a renegade, I'm going to have a lot more skills that produce those things. So
Right.
all they're telling me here is that if you're paying attention to what's around you, you're sustained, and you sustaining your team is going to shoot through the roof.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they gave a little bit of love to Ventari because I know some people that watch the show have a love for Ventari, but unfortunately ArenaNet hasn't really in the past. So hopefully this brings more about of a healing Revenant that maybe use Ventari and some other stuff. But yeah, the healing orbs I think is awesome. Like at least from the sounds of it, and like you're saying, there's going to be some more skills that utilize that. So you might even be able to work it into some of the other builds. Like I said, if you're going core, the legendary centaur stance, if you're in there, you get alacrity, like you can switch back to your healing stuff faster. It's like a lot of this is really going to be interesting.
Gonna be pretty strong. Another notable change here is the switch from punishing sweep to Mender's Rebuke. I mean, that's a pretty cool skill. I had a really hard time finding spots for punishing sweep. I mean, it was really difficult to find. The cast time was so high, it was difficult to both watch for an enemy player's animation and then use it in time for it to trigger its secondary effect, which was
Mhm.
a massive amount of damage and interrupt. If you guys aren't familiar, and the change here to taking it off of being a sequence skill, it makes me incredibly happy. I mean, there's extra damage here, which is cool. There's some healing here as long as you're smacking people in the face, which I'm always aiming to do anyway. Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool.
Like I said, it's just a lot of interesting and amazing stuff. What were you gonna say, Age?
They reworked all of Salvation. Seems like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I'm so intrigued by it because that's basically the healing line for it. It's
Mhm.
like
Which I think is something we've said for a long time, that the healing parts of Revenant needed like rework because it just never felt like it worked well compared to the other things Revenants could do, you know?
or other healing options out there. It's like
Right.
so hopefully we'll maybe see him as a somewhat contender, maybe not druid levels, but any
Nothing but
other
good things from
oh
ArenaNet.
good.
Nothing but good things.
Yeah.
What was that?
I just said nothing but good things for Revenant here, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember when they showed this off, and I was looking at. I instantly went to like Revenant first because that's kind of the one I play mostly now, and I'm just like, holy crap, oh, like where's the gotcha moment? But
Yeah.
but yeah, any other thoughts for Revenant? All right, next up we got Thief, and knowing if you follow Age, you had like a flow chart or something going on when they after they dropped this, like
Because I wanted to like map out the changes that they were making to the traits. So I was trying to like figure out, okay, they said this is moving here, this is becoming master, this is coming add up, this is becoming, combining and all that stuff. So I'm like, I need to map out what traits are so that if I take Daredevil, what changes and what lines am I going to be taking. So it was just interesting because I think the biggest thing was that steel becomes swipe when you take Daredevil. So swipe is now a 600 range steel instead of a 1200 range steel, but it's unblockable. And the main reason is that, well, basically the main reason for Daredevil is that the trade-off they want it to be like you are always in melee, like you're taking a risk in staying melee. So I don't think it's that great for Dagger Pistol, but maybe for other builds it could be an interesting effect that goes on. They moved a bunch of sustained traits into like an option now. So the first line of add-ups will be like your defense, your middle line will be your physical damage, and then your third Grandmaster is based on your dodge, which doesn't change. But I'm very interested in what I'm going to do because I don't think Dagger Pistol will be better with these lines because I think it'll be like around the same or slightly worse just because the steel change is more like you want to do it. You want to steal and Heartseeker from 1200 range. Like that's just the way it works. Like from 600 you have to do it from Invis. Or like close the gap real fast. And some of the sustained traits are now an option. So there was a trait called Driven Fortitude, I believe it was called, that gave you a heal on successful judge, but now it's part of a adept along with the condition cleanse. So you have that option. So it's interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna like probably make this weird staff build or something that'll make it work, but. I'm thinking strictly Robo Sword right now. Sword Dagger doesn't change because it uses core. Very interested to see how Dagger Pistol changes with this.
Yeah.
so they did quite the opposite. They didn't delete Thief. All the letters I sent them.
It's hey, wait a minute.
What?
I'm interested because it's interesting changes because I do feel like I need like some defenses that don't have horrible trade-offs, and I think Marauder's Resilience, which is new, it gives you vitality based on power and reduces incoming damage if you're in melee range, which is really nice.
Yeah,
it gives you kind of the best of both worlds, so you can stack a bit more power with less vitality because that's a trade-off we've needed for a while. So little things like that have been interesting to me. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, can't wait. Luckily, we won't have to wait long. It seems like coming out this Tuesday. But any other thoughts on Thief?
I might wreck Cancer. I'm sorry in advance.
Last up, we have the Warrior, which holy crap! I mean, it's like brain stinking new. Yeah.
This was cool. Actually, I was talking to Shin. For those who know, Shinryu used to be like a warrior player in yours, and he said he was going to check him out. He's interested in the changes. So the primal burst I think is going to be very interesting because there's a lot of reworks on those, and also it's because like primal bursts are the main thing. You don't have access to the when you're a spec berserker elite, you don't have access to the base warrior burst. You just have the primal burst.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. And it's there's range on it for someone.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're basically like, I mean, if people haven't read it, they're basically like redoing like the Berserker Elite spec. It feels like,
And
like,
mode damage is
yeah,
pretty accurate.
it's pretty insane. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
It
have
just feels like at this point, like so much that they changed from the Berserker. It's like, and kind of with a lot of them, it's like if they mentioned it, you might just want to go back and try it again because, I mean, it almost feels like, you know, we're talking about before the Revenant. They kind of like totally tricked it out that like changed so many things. It's like almost like a new class. Warrior with the Berserker, it's like they're changing everything out. I mean, which I think is good and kind of goes back to, I would say, with like we were talking about before, of a 6 year a game that's 6 years out. It's like, you know, they kind of have to make some of these kind of drastic but still keeping in the theme
Oh,
of the specs or whatnot.
well, and they did say at the beginning of the notes that they really wanted to make the elite specialization stand out compared to their counterparts. I mean, and they were successful in my opinion with Berserker here.
Yeah.
These are some really monumental changes that will make a huge difference on how people play that. Yeah, it's going to be really neat to see what people can do with these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They essentially just completely rebuilt Berserker. Like,
Yeah, the trade-off is that you have less toughness, so you're more fragile. But I don't think that'll matter too much.
Hey, you don't need toughness when your enemy's dead, okay?
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's very much a Berserker mentality. Is like you're supposed to be kind of not tanky but super damage. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to see how Decapitate works because it's like now a long-range melee attack. That's not how melee works.
Yeah, if it's long range, is it really melee? I don't understand.
it does when you're a Berserker.
Does not leap forward and only hits one target. I'm like,
When you got the blood drunk, melee is now ranged. That's how it is.
this skill recharges instantly if it hits. So that's and can be affected by quickness and slow. Wow.
Yeah.
God, it's
Like spam Decapitate.
yeah.
That's going to make it pretty cool for the one word that came to mind when I saw these Berserker changes as a now Renegade main is kite these guys, right? Like kite.
Yeah.
And Decapitate is going to make that a little harder, unless you dodge it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, kite. When you're gonna, I mean, it's gonna be difficult seeing a lot of these changes, but kite.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun to see.
And like Chad said, found the axe buffs because
Yeah.
previous times it seemed like the Necro was getting all the axe buffs, but I mean Warrior definitely got axe buffs here and there, but yeah, they kept stacking it on. But man, I can't wait to see what some people do with the Berserker. Like you said, it's just they kind of gutted it or like really changed it up, so it almost feels like a totally new elite spec. So
Crazy cool. Crazy cool. I didn't. I don't think. I always have to bring it back to this, but I'm not proficient enough with Warrior to know how any of this impacts any sort of longbow warrior builds.
Right.
So a lot of time with it, you know. I didn't see any direct longbow changes, anything that helped keep people at a distance, maybe.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So like I said, I mean, for me, I'm excited to run away from these guys if I can. If I can.
It's great. You see a lot of warriors roaming around. It's gonna be fun.
Any final thoughts on the warrior, like, or
Ready
any
for
final thoughts? Oh, go ahead.
10K decapitates. I'm ready.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on like kind of the patch itself? Like, I know Bowborne was kind of talking about like he really thinks they hit the mark, and I totally agree. I mean,
Yeah.
of like their goal that they were trying to set out.
Yeah, this is one of the more interesting. Like the last couple of bounce patches have just been more like, okay, we need to fix this, buff this, nerf this. But this feels like more like an actual balance pass where you're considering, okay, we want the theme of elite specs. You take this, but there's like a slight trade off, and I think concentrating around that. There's also been buffs and maybe nerfs here and there, but like I think this has been a more interesting balance patch for sure. And I also like how I always like at the very top of each profession they explain why. So just keep
Yeah. I mean, it really helps to understand the changes because like some people, well, for some of the classes, like, you know, I can read them and be like, okay, this seems to be what they were trying to do. But for like most people, you read them and it's like some of the changes can feel disjointed. So having a good snapshot of like what they were trying to accomplish helps tie things together and be more understandable.
so yeah.
Yeah, we can. So yeah, like I said, this is all coming out Tuesday. It's like right around the corner. It's not like we have to wait a month or so. So, and when was the last balance update? Because I feel like this was a lot sooner, which is what a lot of people were wanting, was quicker.
Let's say February.
Yeah, so that 2 months.
There you go. Yeah, I kind of want to say somewhere around February. I don't think it was a huge one though.
No, I mean, well, but that's some like I mean, sometimes there has to be only touch ups but
Right. Well, also, and like I think I've said it before, I prefer them to make small changes consistently instead of just constantly huge changes, because the worst thing for me for balance is when things are swinging wildly side to side of being either too good or too bad. And like, I prefer incremental change personally.
But yeah, so we'll definitely check that out. And like we said, with some of these changes, I can't wait to see what people come up with some builds, but also maybe taking them into some PvP. Which, speaking of PvP, they've also told us on the forums. They've given us a little bit of map previews for the Eternal Coliseum and Jin's Dominion, which you can see the screenshots here. The first two are Eternal Coliseum, and the third one will be Jin's Dominion. But yeah, they said with Eternal Coliseum, they wanted to give the map more spaces where players can jump around and try to break line of sight. Additionally, they wanted to differentiate between each side of the map a bit better, so it's easier to know where you are just by looking around. To do that, they added hedges on one half of the map and building supplies on the other. So kind of see them showing them off there in the pictures, but I'll quickly the other one for Jin's Dominion. Their goal was to reduce the ability to spawn camp the other team, which that's always a good thing. To that end, they've added a wall between the spawn areas, which stretches to the lamp platform. A gate will open in the wall after some time, so players don't have to run through the middle of the map to get to the far side through the whole match. So, I mean, as you three are all more PvPers than I know we were talking about a little bit about this on the Discord, because I know my mentality, like a lot of people didn't like the openness of the Eternal Coliseum. I liked that it was different, but I do realize that because we really only have capture point type rule sets, it's not a great map for that.
Right.
But
Well, and that was what I honestly this update is kind of a love-hate one for me. Eternal Coliseum, I think they're all positive changes. I think that it looks really nice. They did a really good job with like placement, and kind of breaking, like they said, the line of sights that can be pretty detrimental to trying to capture or decapture a point.
Mhm.
Especially if you are like we were talking about earlier, the Reapers, the Elementalists, the people who really thrive on being in your face now Daredevil need these sorts of structures to succeed on these maps, because with the sort of openness they had beforehand, the classes that dealt unchecked damage from unchecked ranges
Mhm.
always won those maps. I mean,
Yeah.
always. So yeah, I think that these changes are nothing but good for Eternal Coliseum. Guess we can circle back around before we go to the Dominion of the Jin's Dominion.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Obviously, I play Reaper, so like
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I did my joke about it. Coliseum was perfect as it was. Why they change it like as a joke, because that's
Yeah.
how people always react.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um no, I think it looks really awesome. I always struggled with the openness of it. Like my best bet in that map was always if I could skirt by people and they could not notice me on my way to something. Like
I
that was my best bet in that map, which is kind of sad. So um I'm interested to see how it changes things up and makes the gameplay a little more interesting in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
more things to jump onto in Turtle
Mhm.
Coliseum. So
yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
think
which more hiding spots? Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Line of sight I think is the most important thing actually, just because a lot of a lot of base PvP play is working around line of sight as well. So it's pretty good. I can't tell you how many times it saved my life. So uh, I like it. I can't speak for Jin's Dominion because I've never played on it, but uh, seems like spawn camping is annoying. So just from experience, and yeah. So getting rid of that is good. So
As Jin's Dominion, the wall is. I like to play a healthy mixture of unranked and ranked. I mean, unranked lets me do the stupid, crazy things that eventually led to the Renegade build that I'm playing. I mean, and I can just have some fun with friends in unranked. So I run across Jin's Dominion often, and I say boo on Jin's Dominion not because the wall was bad, but because I feel like it wasn't enough to make players change their minds about the map. I don't, Dale, I know you said you'll spend a lot of time in PvP, but the general consensus of the PvP community, if you didn't know this already, was that not a lot of people like that map, right? For mostly the spawn camping reasons, more accurately, the everybody just golden retrievers towards the tennis ball to each other at the beginning of the game and nobody cares about the objectives. I disagree with that. We'll get into another time, but I think the biggest change we needed to see for this map was for the objective, meaning the buffs that you get from
Mhm.
I think we needed to see those be a little bit more impactful. How, I'm not sure. Um, but I feel like that was kind of just a useless objective for the most part on that map, and
Mhm.
that my biggest problem with it.
Yeah, I often felt like in that map I was getting those just for the hell of it more than anything else. Like there were definitely times where we're in there where I was like, "Oh, did somebody get it? I don't know." Like it just I don't know. It's I feel like they maybe need to be stronger and happen less often, maybe would be a good balance. I'm not sure.
Well, and I had a couple ideas written down. One of them was, why don't you, instead of giving everybody a special action button, which I think is kind of the issue. Not a lot of people in PvP, not a lot of people remember that button to begin with because they're
Right.
already struggling to
Hmm.
stay alive, right?
Yeah,
So
you're like hitting your habitual
yeah,
things.
exactly. So I think one of the biggest things they could do is to make that objective more other objective focused. And what I mean in that is that, say, for instance, you name a buff, backup at sea, just as a really boring example. So you get the objective, and all of a sudden a ship shows up at sea that just constantly barrages the point, right? Or
That would be cool.
in the middle, if you win the middle point, it drops platforms for the other team, but your team doesn't have to worry about falling down, right? So like make it to where it's a little bit more impactful on the map, which also encourages players to practice rotating. I think that's what that map needs. This wall, fantastic start. The fact that it opens up at a point in the map, also fantastic as somebody who likes to be that decapper, right? But I think it just needs the objective to be impactful for that to be a great map. Otherwise, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts for the PvP maps? And is this supposed to be coming out like? I don't think they said on there. Is this like coming out Tuesday with everything, or?
I thought it was. I was.
Kinda.
I mean, that was my impression. I could be wrong.
It just
I
says
mean,
coming changes. So
Okay.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if they ever set a date, but I mean, not to knock what they've done, but it's, you know, it doesn't seem like it's hugely like map changing, like they had to restructure the maps or anything. Like it looks like they had to just place a couple of things, so
Yeah,
hopefully it'll be coming Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, and I hope so, because the changes to Eternal Coliseum are going to be pretty impactful to the rank climb as well. Because a lot of players who are Plat 1, Plat 2 players stuck in Gold 1 and 2 because their best builds are melee builds. So yeah, I'm really interested to see if this brings a new kind of diversity to builds to the higher ranked PvP. Not that I know what it's like up there. Yeah, it's going to be really cool. But like you said, I think it's small enough that they can probably fit it in on Tuesday and not break the game.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so looking forward to seeing how that changes up, like you said, especially for Eternal Coliseum. But you know, maybe you're coming back to the game and maybe you go into PvP. You won't see me there. But you know, if you are back, make sure to pick up week 4, because this is welcome back to Guild Wars 2 week 4. Basically, you know, we talked about in the last couple of weeks, it's basically encouraging players to return, which we talked about earlier. I've definitely seen more and more people coming back or maybe starting the game. So, you know, welcome to all those people, and you know, welcome back to all those other people. So you can, if you're currently playing, you can get the free episode unlock, which for season 4, episode 4, A Star to Guide Us. You can pick that up in the gem store. And if you're already logging in, you are already unlocking episode 5. So there you go. You got a nice little bundle there, because you get it. Yep. You basically can log in and unlock these things when they are the most current one. And then every once in a while they'll do these, but I wouldn't hold your breath on that as the savior each time. But it is nice that they are doing it. But if you already have that stuff, you're like, well, what's in it for me? Something that I would probably use heavily. You can get a free revive orb in the gem store. Limit 1 per account. So, rats. I wish I could spam that button. But both of those things are only available until April 22nd. So you definitely want to make sure to pick those up, because they will be switching on Tuesday, which I guess is the big thing. Are they going to do an back to Guild Wars 2 week 5, since it's the current one? I mean, what are they going to offer? Hey, you can get this unlocked for free like you've always been able to.
Maybe they did a really good job at keeping a secret, and they're going to drop a trailer or something for the next.
I thought you were going to say they were going to drop episode 6. I was like, dang.
I know. I think
that's a good secret.
We're a few teaser steps behind that, but I think at least a little bit more enticing information on what's going to happen there. I hope. Welcome back to Guild Wars 2. Check out what's in store, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. But and also I think it's important to note, we talked about it last week with the whole from the social media aspect of, it seemed like the Guild Wars 2 Twitter, especially, I know people coupling with the Jean-Luc tweets that were kind of spamming people's inboxes. And I brought up the most recent one that they did with last week, where it seemed like they were using a lot of hashtags. And I'm pretty sure it was Age that said it seems like it was the partnered streamer who I guess submitted a, you know, what they wanted as the tweet, and then Guild Wars 2's Twitter would tweet that out verbatim, because they did one this week that seemed a lot less. Well, I think it referred to it as which was coming from that streamer's perspective, so it definitely does seem like it was from the voice of the particular streamer, which, you know, to each their own. I like I said, I was connecting two dots that, you know, were just happened to be coincidence, but so, you know, I think it's just important to always, you know, note that, hey, we get stuff wrong too. Or maybe they're just covering up very well, right? That's the internet way. But yeah, any other thoughts on the Guild Wars 2 welcome back initiative? Like, since we're kind of reaching the tail end, do you guys think this was a good idea? Would you want them to do it for other seasons, or?
Well, yeah, I think it was fantastic. I mean, anything that tells your player base, hey guys, if you missed this, come check it out. Or hey, if you used to play Guild Wars 2 and you fell out of it because you didn't feel like you had enough to do, well, hey, look, we added more stuff. Come check it out. And while you're at it, here's some people who are current on those sorts of things that you can ask those questions to directly, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think from a community management perspective, this was an incredibly well done way to encourage player growth.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a good lead up to the last episode too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so definitely check that out if you want to pick up a free revive orb, or if you need episode 4. Like we said, it's going away Tuesday. But also, ArenaNet is participating in the Mox Gauntlet. The Mox Gauntlet is an annual board gaming tournament held by Mox Boarding House in Bellevue, Washington. It will start May 19th, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Mike Z, Isaiah Cartwright, John Hargrove, and Steven Stadnicki will represent ArenaNet at the tournament all day, so that'll be awesome. They'll be hosting the event live stream on the official Twitch channel, which, you know, twitch.tv/Guild Wars 2. So be sure to tune in for some fun, celebration, and some giveaways, apparently. They kind of tease that original Guild Wars collector's editions. Man, if you want to get those mini pets, this is like pretty much the only way. I mean, soundtracks for Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire on the vinyl, which I think we've shown in the past. I know Jim has them. I don't know if anyone else.
Have them.
Yeah, they're very nice looking, but and they say other merchandise and surprises, but if you want to, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube or whatnot, the links will be in the description. But if you want their donate page, the link is in the description. But yeah, definitely check it out.
I just want to say real quick that I love the mention of Izzy, because a few months ago there was somebody on Twitter who was like, does he even still work there? Oh my God. And I was like, you're not going to hear much about him. He's a very much behind the scenes person. He doesn't like being out in the front. Don't worry about it. So
I won't lie, when I said Isaiah Cartwright, I kind of wanted to say, like, oh, they brought him back in just for this, but I know not enough people would have got the joke.
I would have right over my head.
Because they were like, oh, it's proof that, you know.
Yeah.
But
go
ahead.
I guess the prizes, the giveaways, more accurately there, those are the kinds of things that I mean, people who really enjoy the Guild Wars series, I mean, those are some mouth-watering giveaways, right? Like, I want to fly out to this thing just for a shot at one of those.
Right.
That'd be cool. I mean, the event itself looks incredibly fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Give me the toaster, damn it. I want the toaster.
Oh, yeah, are they going to offer a toaster? That's the important question. But also, oh, go ahead.
No, I was laughing at your joke. It's funny.
But
It sounds like a joke, but I really want that toaster.
well, maybe, you know, if people want it enough, they'll put it on For Fans by Fans. Maybe you can make your own and put it up there and be like, I'm gonna do one that's maybe the Heart of Thorns logo or the Path of
Sure.
Fire logo.
How cool would it be if it were a toaster where you there was like a pike that you stuck the bread on, right? And then you press the toast button, and when it was done, you took the toast off, and it was like a fiery dragon sword, right? Just
I like the idea and the initiative. I probably wouldn't recommend anyone sticking anything into a toaster. That's
part of the toaster.
that's just gonna be my blanket rule right there. Just probably not the
Don't
best.
stick things in toasters.
Although if
Yeah.
you know the Guild Wars 2 Collector Edition Ritlock sword, it's plastic, so you'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
fine.
But yeah, they are also offering on For Fans by Fans. I checked it today, so I doubt it happened this quickly. But you can get the Char plushie on sale for just $10.
Oh, I meant to
while
grab
supplies
mine down
last.
off the shelf and I
Oh.
forgot.
That is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it's-
are awesome. I got one when I went to PAX West one year, and then when I was packing up everything, I didn't have room for everything. So I just carried him with my stuff. I couldn't pack him, and it was kind of like a talking thing. And like when we were flying back, the middle seat had nobody in it, so I put him in the seatbelt and everything. It was funny. So they're awesome. The Char plushies are awesome.
Chat
And their
saying they want
names
that.
are
There's the link.
Charlie.
Oh, I see what happened there.
Yeah, but it's basically 50% off right now. And if you find some other stuff there, I'm looking at right now. If you're in the 48, basically the continental United States, you get free shipping on orders that are $99, or
Right.
over $99. So yeah, that'll put you. Maybe just buy 10 Guild Wars 2 Char plushies. I mean, there you go.
That'd be cool to give away on stream. That'd be really
You got a plushie raid right there. Boom. But yeah, so if you want to get that, make sure to grab it while it's at such a discount. Like I said, it's 50% off. And like as you can hear, Robin's giving it the seal of approval.
Right. I was going to move my camera so you could see it, but then I figured that'd be disorienting for people. Maybe after show I'll do that.
All right. And hey, maybe while you're spending some money for out of game stuff, maybe spend some money in game if that is what you want to do. But you always want to make sure it looks nice or works as you want to. You can always do that with Dolphy.net. Check out Dolphy.net so you can spend your gems more wisely. So kind of the only new thing we've had was this, what's it called? It's a long Maguma Packed Operation Portal device, which is 400 gems. And we've had other Operation Portal devices. I think it was the main core Tyria one. It basically alerts you. It's almost like the websites that are out there, like the World Boss counter thing. Those one of the alerts you. This one's just specifically for the Maguma Jungle, Dry Top, and Silver Waste. So it'll which I'm kind of interested that it does a Silver Waste one, because that's time based. Like it's not on a schedule like Maguma Jungle or Dry Top events are.
Which
I'm
I
kind of
think
curious
really
of how.
increases the value of this thing, right? Because then you don't have to kind of guess, or you don't have to go in there early to try and catch it, or
Yeah, I'm definitely curious of how that works.
Is Vine Wrath up? Is the Sandstorm coming in? And for Maguma Jungle, the meta event is what?
Well,
I'm not sure.
well, it's all the different ones like Heart
Oh.
Thorn, so it'd be all the. It'd be.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
so I'd be Night Cycle, to rear, defending to rear, chalk, and then the Dragon Standing one is interesting. I guess it's when it starts.
well,
Yeah, I was
it'd be
gonna say
really
I'm
cool.
kind of curious of how it's gonna get people in.
I guess it's if
Yeah.
the first 3 lanes actually like complete their events, it'll notify you, hey, there are people doing the event. Go forth and prosper.
So, I don't know. Would you would you consider the whole thing being the meta event? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. So like if the first 3 events succeed, that means like people are actually doing the event rather than
Oh, okay. You mean like the beginning
True.
first 3?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you meant literally at the end. I'm like, it's gonna try to put people into literally at the when you're running around in the
Oh,
circle.
drops them from the sky. Have fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, jeez.
Don't have to worry about a
Um,
parachute. There's a waypoint right there.
but yeah, so you can pick that up for 400 gems. But some sales and returning items, the Istani Isle Mount Adoption licenses, you can get 1 for 320 gems, 5 for 1,440 gems, which is 20% off. Also, the Astani Isle Mount Select licenses, which are you get a guaranteed one of the ones from the pool of all those for 720 gems, which is 40% off. So, I mean, Mount Adoption license. Yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts on it, Bowborne? Since I know we've gone through multiple times on.
Right.
I love them. I absolutely love them. I think that the adoption license is a pretty cool way to give people the option to customize their mounts. And I mean, of course, I'm just as tired as everybody else is at the RNG aspect of things, the loot
Yeah.
box style thing. But honestly, most of the skins that come out of there are actually pretty cool to begin with. So I'm pretty much happy with anything that comes out of it. The mount select license being 40% off is crazy cool because there, like I said, some really cool skins in there. So we're talking about the mount selection passes in general. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my opinion. I think they're cool. Like I said, I'm just as tired as everybody else is at loot boxes, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that there's a reason they exist, and it's because they're profitable. And if it means that my game gets to keep going on because people want to
Right.
buy things, because I sometimes buy those things, then cool. I mean, have fun.
And an important thing to note, especially since we're getting more and more new players, like at least they do it a slightly better way than most places with random loot boxes, is at least with the mount adoption licenses, is once you unlock one of the skins, you cannot get that one again in a.
That
So
is a very
yeah, there is an end game to it. Like, so theoretically, I forget how many are in the Stani Owl mount adoption license, but say if there's 10 mount skins, if you buy 10 things outright, you're gonna get them all. It's not like, oh, I just got 10 of this one.
exactly. Oh, here's some useless currency that if you waste enough money on, you'll be able to craft something marginal. Yes, I agree
Right.
completely that eliminating what you already have from the pool makes all of the difference. Or that's a wonderful point.
Mm-hmm. Also, some returning items is a Fierce package for 2,000 gems, the Dervish package for 1,700 gems, the Prime Evil Dervish outfit for 700 gems, the Sun Touched Scythe staff skin for 480 gems, which is 20% off, the Elegant Fan Focus skin for 480 gems, which is 20% off, the Ferocious Cat Ears for 400 gems, the Bunny Ears for 200 gems, and the Wizard's Hat for 200 gems.
I bet you can guess which one of those I have.
Is it the wizard's hat?
I do have that actually.
Oh, joke's on us. You have them all.
I was meaning mostly the bunny ears and the cat ears. I definitely have those. In fact, my Azura Necro that I PvP on runs around with the bunny ears all the time.
I
So
Told you she's cute.
I'm definitely getting one of the hats, the wizard hats. I think those things are awesome.
Mm-hmm. It definitely nice looking. I think it actually came out. It was when one of the Lord of the Rings movies came out because people were like, "Is this a crossover type thing?" It's like,
Oh, right.
it might be a nod, but I don't know if they're getting that
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings money.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
But also returning was the Chain Whip Sword skin for 20% off and the Rival Skies package for 20% off. So
I don't remember what is the Rival Skies package. I guess I could just Google that. Huh?
I'm not sure too when I read it.
Let's find out
okay.
together.
I think I have these axes. Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah, it has.
was the fiery and ice
yeah.
axe, which
Those
like
are-
I said, they are incredible. They with your fire and your ice like appearances, they look great. They're cool.
Yeah, those are pretty nice looking. So
Definitely also going to buy myself a chain whip sword. I really missed that the first time it came around. I was kicking myself in the butt for it. Not going to make that mistake twice.
but yeah, definitely check those out if you want to get any of that stuff before it goes away. But last up in Community Corner, and these do tie in nicely with what we were talking about throughout the whole stream, which was the UGO Unity Gaming Organization, their 5v5 core PvP tournament. Of course, it will be on twitch.tv/Jebro_Unity. But yeah, I think they've already done their NA one. I think this is for the EU one, which is May 5th, 2 p.m. GMT, 3 p.m. BST, or 4 p.m. CEST, or 7 a.m. Pacific time, or 10 a.m. Eastern time. Hopefully we covered enough bases there. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it before, but like we said, I believe it also allows the play for the Revenant, but of course you can't use any elite specs for anything. But yeah, definitely check that out. Also, another core build only and 5v5 conquest double elimination tournament. Revenant will be playable, but do note that there is no class stacking allowed. Though a little caveat: Ranger core pets only, no hot or POF ones. So they're trying to maintain the purity of Guild Wars 2 vanilla. Maybe we'll have Guild Wars 2 vanilla servers. But first place will be 65% of the cash prize pool. Second place will receive 35% of the cash prize pool, and third place will receive 500 gold. So, definitely, check that out if you.
I'm excited to see if anybody will bring the core Revenant to this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because with that change, like it's.
I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for in PvP. There's always windows where if you figure out something before everybody else does, i.e. Renegade, you become successful on it because nobody knows how to play against it. I think that Core Rev might have a really small window where they get to do that for a while. I think that those changes are big enough to. There was some, so Hypnotron saying there was some core in the NA tourney, and you're totally right. I just mean some core Revenants with the new changes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because this Tuesday we're gonna see changes to, like we were talking about earlier, where if you don't run an elite spec on the Revenant, you get this new F2 skill.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be interesting. That even that little tweak is gonna possibly mess with the Unity Gaming Organization's 5v5 tournament. But
I love seeing new, fresh builds in those tournaments. I mean, especially because they're pretty well publicized.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of eyes on them, so there's a lot of opportunities to influence kind of the meta, as it were, right?
Right.
And it's definitely going to shake it up because, like we said, with all these changes, not only is it going to be different, but kind of like how we've always talked about with the seasons and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, you can't drop a change in the middle. This is literally, like I said, they've already done the NA one, so the EU one, it's like, we might see totally new builds. Yeah. So definitely can't wait to see what happens with that. But that looks like that is it for this week. So Age, where can they find you?
Find me on Twitch and YouTube at Age Night Road. I didn't stream yesterday. I have family things later tonight, so I probably won't stream until like later in the night, maybe, and I'll probably stream tomorrow. That's all.
Awesome. And Robin, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Arlie82, where I post up random stuff that I do all the time, and writing for MMORPG.com mostly.
Awesome. And our lovely special guest, Bowborne, where can they find you?
Thank you. Yeah, same places as Arlie there, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. If you like the Instagram thing, a lot of people don't, but if you change your mind just for me, you will see a lot of really cute dog pictures. I stream every night on Twitch, or at least try to stream every night on Twitch, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. to around midnight Mountain Time. If I'm not going to be on for whatever reason, sometimes I work pretty late, then there's Twitter. I mean, I usually update everybody as soon as I know. So yeah, every day, 8 p.m. on Twitch. Come see that Renegade play.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember we hosted you and you were playing the Renegade. I was like, man, I'm the type of person that I don't switch. I haven't switched from my like what I call prophecies character, which is dwarf and herald. So you sold Renegade for me. So
Thanks. And yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for the opportunity to hang out with you guys here today. I had a lot of fun. I mean, it's always nice to see other perspectives in the community of Guild Wars 2, especially people who take the time to think out all of the impact instead of how it just impacts them. You know what I mean? So yeah, thank you so much for letting me be here, guys.
oh, always a pleasure. And you can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch and Twitter. And oh, if you're here live, this whole week I've been dealing with my audio issues, and I thought they were fixed. But if you were here live, you'll know they weren't. Was gonna be leading up to saying, oh, I might stream tonight if I can get the show up, but I really need to figure out these audio issues. Oh boy, but yeah. Understatement of a lifetime. But if you are just popping at the very end, do stick around. We do a bit of an after show, as long as the storm outside doesn't change that. But if you want to watch this, we do highlight it on Twitch, twitch.tv/MAAD, 2 A's in the MAAD. If you prefer YouTube, links are always in the description on YouTube, or if you're watching the highlighted version on Twitch. But YouTube, it goes up on Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and that's youtube.com/MAADrealms. If you want to find this all in one nice little package, just go to maadrealms.com, 2 A's in the MAAD, and we put those up, and it goes up Sundays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific as well, along with the audio version of the podcast. Since so many people have always wanted it, we have tried to deliver it. So that seems like that is it for this week, and we'll see everybody next time and in the game. Good night, everybody.